preaching about how that marriage was not right. He started to preach and talk about God and the salvation in the right way to handle things. And was speaking that the king was not only not being holy, but his marriage was not sanctified. And so during this point in time, the king decides to capture John and imprison him. And I dig a little deep because in some of the history books will give you a little bit more, and realized that when the king captured John, he actually spent some time talking to John. And what he realized is that really John was wiser than what he thought. And he decided that it was better to leave John alive than it was to kill him. In the process of leaving John alive, some history books even say that they gave him special privileges that the other prisoners didn't have. As we move forward, the king has a birthday. And this birthday is one of a kind with food and beverages and who's who that's there. And in this event, he has his stepdaughter, which is actually his niece, come in and dance. As she dances and as they get married, as they are happy, the king puts his foot in her mouth and the king says, "Whatever your wish is my command." Fellas, how many times we know how we get in trouble by putting our foot in our mouth? He never wanted to kill John not only because he learned from him, but what he realized was that he had followers and he didn't want to start the commotion. And so, because now the king is in front of all these people, the king decides to kill John and put his head on a platter. And as I started to think about it, I said, oh my. As time goes on, we're going to go back now to Jesus. Because Jesus at this time is preaching in parables. And as he's preaching in parables, he gets the murmuring that John is dead. Now, John was a special person to him. John was his spiritual brother, in physical terms considered cousin. That was a passionate situation that took place in Jesus' heart. And the Bible says that Jesus, who was already on the boat preaching, moved into the water and separated himself to find a secluded place. And as he was moving and trying to find a secluded place, the people that he was preaching to started to walk on foot to follow him. Note to self, when you're serving, the people will follow. When you're serving, the people will follow. As Jesus finds this secluded place, he gets from the boat and he realizes that he sees a sea of people. Almost 5,000 people. As he's touching and healing the disciples in their human brain and their human ability of compassion, and says, Jesus, these people are tired and are hungry. Let them go so that they can go into town to eat. And Jesus says, no, feed them. And there goes the miracle with 5 loaves and 2 fish. But I want to get to my first point here, which is, isn't it amazing how at Jesus' lowest point, he was still willing to serve. At Jesus' lowest point, he was still willing to serve. Serve those who serve you. As the crowd now eats and the disciples are carrying the food to the crowd to make sure that they are full, Jesus then says, disciples, go out into the water as I dismiss this crowd. And as he dismisses him, they say that he went and prayed. And then as he prayed, then he decided to do the other miracle, which is walk on water. Now, as he's walking on water, the disciples are seeing him, and then they say that they thought that they saw a ghost. And as he got closer, the disciples shouted out, "Who is I mean, if that's really you, allow me to walk on water too. Now, I'm going to be just honest, and this is where my human aspect comes in. Peter, who are you? Haven't you been with me as I've been saving lives? Haven't you been with me as I've been helping people? Weren't you with me as we just fed those 5,000 people? Who are you to talk to me and have me prove myself to you? And then I pondered within my personal self and I said, well, how many times have I doubted God? How many times has he fed me when I was hungry, clothed me when I needed clothes, gave me a shelter, and I still stay up at night wondering, is it going to happen? And so, as Peter gets out, they say that Peter almost sunk because then he lost focus and Jesus grabbed him up and pulled him up again and said, ye of so little faith. And so, in this portion, Jesus is showing that he's serving again because now he's showing he's serving through teaching. Even as you serve people, it's important to keep your faith. Even though you are serving people that are faithless, it is important to keep your faith. And so as the chapter goes on to 15, they get to another place and then the disciples are at work and then the Pharisees come around. And the Pharisees say, Jesus, how do you allow your disciples to come and serve without being washed? And then Jesus says, who are you? My Father says, honor thy mother and thy father, but you do not. You are a hypocrite. Isn't it good to know that while you serve, you have somebody that has your back? But more importantly, though, ain't it crazy that when you're trying to volunteer and help, you always got somebody saying something? As if serving is just not good enough. Ladies and gentlemen, listen, I'm just being honest with you. I've been trying in 2019 to work out more. And as I run, sometimes when I start doing sprints, I actually wish I was both. But I realize that that's really not really where I want to be. Sometimes when I'm talking to my friends, I actually want to engage in laughter like Kevin Hart, but I realize that that's really not who I want to be. In times when I'm doing the week, I actually am listening to music, and I realize that I wish I was as smooth as Drake. But what I realize is that I really don't want to be that. But what I really want is to be financially stable, and if I can only have half of what Bill Gates had, I will be satisfied. But no, what I realize is that still wouldn't serve me. All I want to do is be like Jesus. I want to be able to serve when I'm at my lowest point. I want to be able to serve and know that somebody has my back. Somebody can pull me out of the water. And I want to serve knowing that the people that I serve know that I appreciate them serving me and will always be there. Ladies and gentlemen, as I get older, I just want to be more like Jesus. And Jesus